Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, Bob Hoover headed west, goodbye to a friend. The aviation world responds to the loss of Bob Hoover. Gulfstream G450 production coming to an end. I'm Bree Cross. It's October 26, 2016, and this is Airborne Unlimited. When you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will always long to return. It is said this was written by Leonardo da Vinci, but beyond a doubt, it was lived by Bob Hoover. An early morning call on Tuesday morning brought ANN's Jim Campbell the worst news imaginable. R.A. Hoover, known to all his friends simply as Bob, had headed west. Bob's passing marks the loss of one of America's greatest heroes, a legendary person in the history of aviation, and our dear friend. We are told that Hoover passed away in the early morning in a hospital near his home in Rancho Palos Verdes in California. Those who knew him personally were favored by being touched by a powerful force in an unassuming human form. Bob left an impression on everyone he met in a way that very few people have achieved. He will be remembered. He will be missed. As the world of aviation responds to the loss of Bob Hoover, everyone has something to say. Hoover affected so many facets of aviation that we expect to be hearing from all levels of aviation and aerospace, and here are a few. General Aviation Manufacturers Association President and CEO Pete Bunce said in part, quote, "The death of Bob Hoover is a tremendous loss to the entire aviation community. Bob was a great friend and mentor to countless aviators in the military, manufacturing, test pilot, and airshow segments of our profession." Experimental Aircraft Association CEO and Chairman Jack Pelton said in part, quote, "We lost a true, one-of-a-kind aviation hero today. It was Bob Hoover as a person that also made him legendary. He was a true gentleman and unfailingly gracious and generous, as well as a true friend of EAA through the years." National Business Aviation Association President and CEO Ed Bolin said, quote, "The boldness and grace of Bob Hoover the pilot was matched only by the humility and graciousness of Bob Hoover the human being. He was simply the best. Our aviation community has been fortunate to have such an extraordinary person with us for so many decades." AOPA President Mark Baker said in part, quote, "Bob Hoover brought great richness to the aviation experience, and he leaves behind a legacy of heroic caring and sharing with the general aviation community. He will be deeply missed. Bob Hoover was so much more than a great pilot. He was a great man and a model for what our community can and should be." We expect to be hearing a lot more from others about Bob, and we'll pass these insights along as we receive them. After the break, the Gulfstream family moves on.
The Bristol Light Sport aircraft is what you are looking for. The Bristol is wider than a Cirrus, faster than a Skyhawk, offers more storage than a Husky, and comes standard with Garmin avionics. So what are you waiting for? Visit Bristol.com to find out how you can get into a Bristol today.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Explore no limits flying in the FAA-certified Sea Ray Amphibious LSA, one of the top 3 best-selling LSAs in the U.S. Progressive Aerodyne Sea Ray comes equipped with a Rotax engine and exhibits extraordinary handling on land, water, and in the air. Check it out at www.searay.com.
Welcome back. If you would like to be a supporter of Airborne Unlimited, send an email to jim@aero-news.net. As technology continues to leap forward, Gulfstream Aerospace has announced it will end the production of the venerable Gulfstream G450 as the company prepares to launch a new era of business aviation with the all-new G500. Gulfstream is scheduled to deliver the final G450 to a customer in early 2018. Gulfstream produced more than 870 G4, G4SP, and G450 aircraft, which will continue to be supported and serviced by the company. Mark Burns, the president of Gulfstream, said in part, quote, "The G4 and G450 ushered in a business aviation renaissance that has led to increased safety, greater reliability, better technology, and improved performance. It's fitting that the G500 will replace the G450 and build upon its performance legacy, creating another industry game changer for Gulfstream." The G500, which can seat up to 19 passengers in 3 living areas, is expected to receive type certification in 2017 and begin delivery to customers in 2018. The aircraft can fly 5,000 nautical miles at Mach 0.85 or 3,800 nautical miles at Mach 0.9, and its maximum operating speed is Mach 0.925. With some 2,000 Aero TV programs webcast to cyberspace, sometimes it can be fun to look back and enjoy some of the places we've seen, the flyers we've met, and the planes we've flown. Here's a look at one of our favorite Aero TV classic episodes.
This is a piece of history, and having my hands on it, there's a wave of nostalgia here that's really quite remarkable and a little nauseating.
It's very interesting and funny. Is what you say. This is the oh my God corner when people come by.
Reminisce with ANN's Jim Campbell as he rummages through Brian Curry's remarkable collection of RC model aircraft radios. If you think radio-controlled model aircraft flying is new, you just haven't been around since 1937. Search Keeping RC History Alive on Aero TV's news channel. After these messages, Robinson Helicopter delivers to Sky.
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.
Based on the popular Sling 2 LSA, the Sling 4 was designed to be the most practical and desirable lightweight 4-place experimental aircraft on the market. Find out more about this 115 horsepower turbocharged airplane at airplanefactory.com.
Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. Last week, the Robinson Helicopter Company delivered 2 R-44 Cadet helicopters to Sky Helicopters, which is a flight school and a Robinson dealer in Garland, Texas. According to Sky's president, Kim Pat, these fully equipped R-44 Cadets make a very appealing trainer. Boeing has installed a new P-8A Poseidon Training Center at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island in Washington State. The facility will go into operation in 2017, and about 70% of the P-8 crew training will occur at this facility. The first airport workers in the country to win a $15 minimum wage are now the latest to declare victory in the fight for union rights. Hundreds of ground support personnel at Seattle's Sea-Tac Airport are affected by the new minimum wage. China Eastern Airlines has selected Panasonic Avionics EX3 in-flight entertainment system and Wi-Fi connectivity service for its fleet of 35 new A350s and 787 aircraft. China Eastern's entire wide-body fleet will now be equipped with Panasonic's high-speed communication service. Gulfstream Aerospace announced that its Gulfstream G450 aircraft recently established a speed record between Guernsey, one of the Channel Islands in Europe, and Teterboro, New Jersey. Their supersized corporate jet averaged a speed of Mach 0.8. Well, that's the trip around the patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. Here's some good news for those who are anxiously counting the days for third-class medical reform to be included in the FARS as a regulation. EAA said in a press release that the agency has stated it intends to present the regulations in a January 2017 timeline. However, according to the legislation, the FAA has until July 16, 2017 to act before it would no longer have authority to enforce medical rules against pilots who comply with the new medical provisions. The concern is that if the Medical Reform Act becomes law without FARS addressing it, it would be difficult for pilots to actually comply with the law when no regulatory framework for implementing the new medical procedures would exist. In the EAA press release, Sean Elliott said about the FAA codifying the legislation, "We will make sure there are no surprises that would diminish the intent of aeromedical reform as passed by Congress." EAA says they are working with their Aeromedical and legal advisory councils to provide resources that will help members and their personal doctors understand the provisions of the new regulations. Well, that's our program for today. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily Monday through Friday with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. We'll see you tomorrow.